Welcome to the series on ground penetrating radar, georadar, or simply GPR. Now, before we dive into this technology, I thought I'd start by sharing a little bit about who I am and how I ended up spending my entire adult life working with radar systems. Now, I'm a geophysicist by training, right? I have a bachelor's, a master's, and a PhD, all focused on near surface geophysics and specifically GPR. I've been working with radar technology since the late 1980s, so right now that's about 35 years. And truly, this is what I do all day, every day. It's been my lifelong passion. Early in my career, I realized that most people in the GPR industry at the time, late 80s, early 90s, were focusing on utility detection, finding pipes and cables in the ground. And while that work's super important and very lucrative, I felt drawn to doing something a little different, and I've never been very motivated by competition, so I kind of went towards the deeper, more complex applications of radar, especially in the mining industry. So that meant low frequency systems. We're talking 50 megahertz, 25 megahertz, and sometimes even 12.5 megahertz. Mapping paleo channels in the Arctic and tackling geotechnical challenges like slope stability and river crossings. Those projects took me on my first international jobs to Ecuador and French Guiana around the mid 90s, 1995. From there, things escalated quickly. By the late 90s, I was spending about 3 weeks of each month somewhere remote, in jungles in Africa, or paddling down tributaries of the Amazon, or bouncing around the Australian Outback. By 1998, I'd accumulated already about 2 million frequent flyer points, almost all of them earned by hauling huge radar antennas onto tiny regional planes somewhere in the world. And all of that early work was done with commercially available radar systems. Mostly the deep penetration units, the low frequency units from sensors and software here in Canada, and later the MALA RTA systems. Now, those projects were extraordinary. I found myself on treasure hunts, deep in remote mining camps, surveying archaeological ruins, just working in environments where you really felt the weight of the unknown beneath you. By the mid 2000s, I realized something had to change though. Commercial systems just simply weren't built for the kind of extreme, rugged fieldwork I was doing. They were delicate, they were very expensive, and they just weren't designed for the constant travel through mud and heat and humidity and jungle conditions. So instead of constantly repairing broken hardware and buying new systems, I made a decision. How hard could it be to make your own radar? How about we start from scratch and build something that is custom made for my applications? So, together with my friend, the late Vincent Utsi from the UK, we began developing real-time sampling radar systems designed very specifically for rough terrain. By the early 2010s, I was building my own antennas and radar systems, most of them well below 100 megahertz, and a few of them even as low as 5 megahertz. Now, with every new system came more travel. Each year, I'd add another 300,000 or 400,000 frequent flyer miles, and almost never that was on vacation. My world was deep GPR for mining, and that work took me quite literally everywhere. I've now used GPR myself in over 100 different countries. With all those systems generating all that data, a new challenge appeared. By about 2015, the volume of data coming in from multiple continents was just overwhelming. I was using various commercial software tools and a mess of my own Python scripts that never really worked, but the workflow, it was just not sustainable. I needed automation, and desperately, or the backlog was just going to swallow me and annoy my clients. So I teamed up with my incredible programmer, Lisandro Martinez from Argentina, and together we started building a tool to automate the repetitive parts of GPR processing. Now, these deep penetration mining projects often stretched over 1,000 kilometers, sometimes a couple thousand kilometers of profiled data each. So we needed something fast and super efficient. And Lisandro did it. He pulled off what felt impossible at the time. But as we were developing this desktop software for my applications, it became obvious that even fast laptops just couldn't keep up. At the same time, I was seeing the GPR industry was shifting towards multi-channel systems with enormous, ginormous data sets. It was clear that desktop computing wouldn't be scalable. Meanwhile, I'm looking at other fields in, geographical mapping, photogrammetry in particular. They were already moving into cloud-based processing, where thousands of processes could be spun up at once to handle massive workloads. So we asked ourselves, why not do that for GPR? And that's how Geolytics was born. Around 2018, we began building the first fully cloud-based GPR processing and interpretation platform. By mid 2020, it launched during COVID, of course. And since then, it has continued to grow. Today, Geolytics can ingest data from absolutely any GPR system and process both small and enormous data sets using an intuitive, user-friendly set of tools. Through all of this, one thing has remained constant. I love teaching. I love teaching about GPR. I've always enjoyed helping people understand the magic of radar, how to use it, how to collect good data, and how to process and interpret it, and how it can be misused. With Geolytics maturing, I began teaching structured GPR workshops around the world. Each year, I run workshops across the UK, Europe, South Africa, Hong Kong, Singapore, Australia, and New Zealand, along with some tailored training sessions for companies and government agencies. I love getting the chance to share this work that I've learned with the broader world on television. Over the years, I've appeared on numerous documentaries on BBC, Channel 5 in the UK, SBS Australia, PBS in the US, and many, many others, usually demonstrating GPR for archaeological or historical projects. I've also appeared on shows like The Curse of Oak Island, The Lost Gold of the Aztecs, and now many people recognize me as the resident geophysicist on The Secret of Skinwalker Ranch on the History Channel. This career has taken me to some extraordinary places: Egypt, Mexico, Indonesia, Africa, places where the past is literally just below the surface. And after all these years, I still learn something new every week. Seriously. Geolytics users constantly send in unusual and surprising data sets that challenge and excite me all the time. That curiosity, that sense that the ground is always holding one more secret, is what keeps me going. I'm making the series simply to help answer the most common questions I get about GPR and to fill in some of the knowledge gaps I see in the field every day. My goal is to explain things at, let's say, a high school or early university level, because you don't need a PhD to understand how to use GPR effectively. You just need the fundamentals, the right concepts explained clearly and with good visuals. Feel free to jump to whatever episode interests you, but there's a lot of value even understanding where our technology came from, how it works, and what its limitations are. So, thank you for joining me and welcome. And as a fun footnote to this long journey, after all those years, 35 years of hauling radar systems around the world, I now have more than 13 million frequent flyer points, almost all earned through GPR travels, and I don't want to use any of them to go anywhere else. So let's get started.